All right, my friends, Jared Dukes with you. Appreciate everybody joining me today. We just hit the buttons to go live, so I just want to make sure everything's working good. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat below. Also, this is a open forum, so if you would like to call in, you can click on that link, or if you like to appear by video, you can use the same link that I'm about to put in the chat. And let's see, I'm going to put the direct link right there. All right. We should be set up. Looks like everybody is coming through on the X platform. Welcome. Our friends on Twitch, welcome. And of course, everyone on YouTube, welcome. Come on in. And of course, we always want to say hello to Rosemarie Fier. It is always good to have you in the chat. Thank you for being here. Okay, we have a lot to talk about today, so we're going to start rolling on it right now. Got basically some let's just call it major headlines that we need to talk about. And one thing about Joe Biden that is going on right now is going to be our first story we're going to kick off with right now. Unbelievably, Joe Biden is doing something that it's worse than the pardons he just issued to 1,600 different people, including the pardon he just issued to his criminal son, Hunter Biden. And it is probably right up there with this lawfare that he has basically started in our country. He has turned the United States into what I can only call a banana republic, where you basically have the party in power going after the party that's trying to come into power, or let's just say his enemies, which is extremely, extremely unfortunate. By the way, if you haven't introduced yourself, feel free to do so. Say your name, say hello, and let us know where you are from. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm J.R. Dukes. This is the home of the free-minded patriots. We are all about ending the terrible disease of indoctrination. My goal is to help you think for yourself, live in your best life possible. When you understand the world we live in better, you can live a better life. It's really just that simple. On this channel, we love to talk about current events, politics, and especially the law, how to navigate the law. How does the law work? The people that are in charge, if you will, hey, we need to hold them accountable. We need to keep our eye on them, and we need to know how to interact, whether it's the police, someone like DA Fannie Willis, whatever. These people effectively rule over us, and we need to know how to navigate this great country of ours. And it's just interesting to talk about it, because the things we talk about in this channel are exactly the same things that DAs, judges, police teach their own children, yet we, for the most part, do not teach these same hacks, these same principles to our children. And that's something I'm very passionate about talking about. So anyway, welcome. Now, the first thing we're going to get into today is, y'all will not believe what Joe Biden, well, you probably will believe what Joe Biden has done. So we're going to go right over to the J.R. Dukes feed. We're going to start off with this first story today. This was reported initially by Daily Wire. So we are all familiar with this border of ours that is wide open. Everybody and literally everybody and their brothers coming across this border unhindered, unchecked. We don't know what kind of terroristic element we have here in our country. I have talked about on this channel many times that it is true in countries like Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, some of these other countries. They have literally emptied out their prisons and told them, do not come back. And they point them in the direction of the United States. And that is a lot of the problems that we're having right now in our country. It's not necessarily per se all the immigrants, it's the criminal element of these immigrants. And we have seen all these stories in the news, unfortunately, and hopefully this is going to change. You know, I'm going to tell you something. Great days are coming ahead. We're going to have four glorious years ahead of us. I was watching today the Chicago mayor effectively telling Donald Trump the same old, same old. He's not going to help out. He's going to do everything he can to hinder Tom Homan's ability to, let's just say, deport all of these bad actors that are in our country. And I love that exchange today. It was hilarious. And I'll be talking more about this hopefully later today, if not tomorrow. I love it. Tom Homan came out today and said, guess what? Chicago is the first place I'm going. And he told the mayor directly, sir, if you hinder me, in any way, you don't want to participate, fine. But if you hinder me, if you hide illegals, if you hide criminals, I personally will bring down the weight of the federal government on you. And that's exactly how this game is going to be played. These next 4 years are going to be just a truly a golden age in our country. And although I'm not necessarily one for retribution, it is so important that these Democrats, these woke Democrats, understand our president elect just went through 3 years of this hell. That's about the only way I can describe it. He had his personal residence raided, he had his wife's underwear drawer raided through. They came out with guns and AR type weapons. They literally assaulted his compound. They have dragged this man into court. Fannie Willis decided to take his mugshot and release it to the world. So that's basically 2 or 3 arrests, depending on how you count it. You've had Alvin Bragg up in New York literally try to put the president in jail for the rest of his life. Letitia James has tried to take every single dime from this man and his children that she possibly could. This next 4 years, it's going to be set straight. And if someone like the Chicago mayor thinks that Donald Trump is in the mood to play around, he's sorely mistaken. I'm convinced that they're looking for a poster child of what's going to happen to you if you impede this president. He's not in the mood, ladies and gentlemen, to mess around. He's not in the mood to play with these people. This is a man that's been lit, a man that has been persecuted. His family's been persecuted, and he is not going to take it. He may have a real smiling, soft veneer, and I'm talking about President-elect Donald Trump as of right now. There is a beast within that is going to set things correct. Again, we've talked about it many times on this channel. I'm not necessarily for retribution. I wish that President-elect Trump could come into office and simply allow all of this to, like water off his back, water under the bridge, whatever. But that's not really a possibility because it's clear that these woke Democrats will not let it lie. And exhibit 1 is Letitia James, the governor of New York. Right after President Trump won the election, we all remember that they came out hard against President Donald Trump. And again, he's just not going to take it. He's not going to take it lying down. And this story we're drilling into right now of what President Biden is doing is only going to add to his determination to make sure he corrects this nonsense. So let's take a look and see exactly what your current president, President Joe Biden, is doing to our country. And my opinion is coming very soon. Let's take a quick peek at it. This is reported by DW. I believe that's a documentary news network. So you recognize all this steel. This is all right there on the border in Texas, Arizona, California. It says here that, let me rewind just a tad bit. It says in the final weeks of the Biden administration, truckloads of unused border wall materials are being hauled away from the Arizona border. And I'm going to show you the website in just a second. So you can see the trucks pulling them out. It says it's being taken north to a government auction site where bidding for an entire segment of wall starts at $5. That's what they're auctioning this off for, $5 a panel. I believe these things are, let me look real quick. These things are 32.91 feet tall. They are 7.91 feet wide, and they are made of steel. And courtesy of Joe Biden, he is literally giving these materials away. And we all know what's going on here. He's trying to impede President Donald Trump-elect ability to build the wall that we so desperately need. In this particular shot, it says a Border Patrol agent estimates that up to half a mile worth of wall is being transported every day. So you have the Biden administration ordering this stuff hauled off as fast as they can. Now, in all fairness, this has been going on for a while. I have found clips up to a year ago. So they've been preparing for this day for a very long time. But right now, things are moving, let's just say, as expeditious as humanly possible because they are doing anything and everything they can to thwart Donald Trump's ability to get our country back on track. So you have right now a half a mile worth of wall being hauled off and to auction every single day. It says it's a lot of border wall. Look at that in this particular film clip right here. Everything you see right there is one panel, 32, basically 33 feet by 8. The government paid millions of dollars for this material. I think the article or one of the screenshots I got coming up in a second will show the cost. Look at that. As far as the eye can see going back into the field, the taxpayers, you and me, have paid a ton of money for this wall, and I'm talking millions of dollars. I think I read $300 million worth of steel that the government has to pay for and has paid for. You have President Joe Biden selling this for basically nothing, $5 a sheet. Unbelievable. Let's take a quick peek while I'm thinking about it. I want to show you this website that is selling it. Now, I think they're doing everything they can since this is becoming, let's just say hot in public. They are doing everything they can to kind of hide this or sweep this under the rug. But here's the website right here. This is a website ran by Ritchie's Brothers. It's Government Planet is the business name they operate under. If you're interested, you can go to govplanet.com and see this for yourself. Basically, this is one of these companies that, in all fairness, there is a lot of legitimate uses that these type of companies for the government, for municipalities, for counties, for whoever, they take equipment, they take buildings, materials, whatever, and they do auction it off on behalf of the government or whatever the legal municipality may be. So it's a needed service and it's a justifiable business normally, but not in this context. This is treason, in my opinion. That's what I wrote on the commentary. You can agree or disagree with me. I view this as nothing short of treason on the United States. Julianne, thank you for being here. Julianne, interesting you say that. I think I have the clip in the feed we're going to take a look at here in a second. Very interesting you say that. There is somebody, I believe it's actually the state of Texas, that is going online now, and they're going to try to buy all of this material that they possibly can. And their intention is to simply give it back to the feds. We'll see how that works out. I would imagine now that this is coming out and becoming public, you're probably going to have some Democrats, some of these woke individuals going on the side and running up the price, number one, to make it more expensive, and number two, to see if they can make sure the fence is never built, at least with the materials that they're playing with right now. But that's a good point, but that's exactly where I think this is going. Absolutely unbelievable. But thanks for being here, Julianne. Appreciate you as always. Bonnie Bulow, thank you. And you are from Florida. That's where I'm at, the great state of Florida, right outside of Tampa, Florida. I'm curious where you are located here, Bonnie. We do have people occasionally from all over the world, so it's kind of interesting to see these things here. All right, let me see if any more questions. Appreciate everybody again being here. I hope you have a January 2nd celebration stream. Yes. I can assure you, Lord willing, if I'm still on this earth on January 20th, I promise you, we will have a super, super blowout party celebration stream. No doubt about it. My friend Sapphire, thank you for being here. Appreciate it as always. Julianne says it would work. It would work out for Texas. Yes, I think so. And the governor there in Texas, what is his name? Governor Abbott. He has been a very good friend for the United States and specifically for the Donald Trump administration. No doubt about that. He has definitely done, he's done what he could. Remember, it was Governor Abbott that started this immigration reconciling, if you will. He's the one that basically got Mayor Adams of New York to start changing his mind, if we can call it that. What did he do? He started busing all of these immigrants all over the United States, especially to democratic cities, these woke cities. And then you eventually have people, not a lot of people, but some people like Mayor Adams that saw the light and decided that these immigrants coming in our country unchecked is expensive and it should not be allowed to continue. I also think, and I have a clip on this too, we'll talk about it more later. I think there's a good possibility you may see Mayor Adams, the current mayor of New York City, become a Republican before this is over with. Remember, they're trying to prosecute him now in the Southern District. What is that? The Southern District of the New York, Southern District of New York, the federal branch. They're coming after him. They say it's for some kind of major crime, but in my opinion, as we talked about here, he basically cut through red tape for the Turkish government so they can get their embassy up and running quicker. And what's his reward for that? They have indicted him for taking a ton of cash, right? Wrong. They've indicted him effectively because allegedly the Turkish government upgraded his seat on the airline. And I'm not making that up. That's what they claim was his bribe, was his payment, was an upgrade on the airlines. Now, the government will say this is no ordinary flight. These are very expensive tickets, but you can spend it any way you want to spend it. That's exactly what he is in trouble for. Julianne, you're right. Trump will fix this quickly. I have no doubt about that. There are rumors, and I think I might have read one report pertaining to this, that Donald Trump is putting all these people on notice that if you do this right now with the government, there's going to be hell to pay when he takes over, because he's going to do what he has to do to claw this money, these assets back one way or the other. I know there was a report of some bureaucrat. He was caught on tape talking about how they're trying to dump all the money that's in the bank accounts right now for the government pertaining to this Green New scam nonsense, where they're trying to send this money out to these organizations as fast as they can. And what they're trying to do again is circumvent Donald Trump, because Donald Trump realizes what this Green New scam is, and he's not going to fund it. He's not going to allow our taxpayer money to effectively be burnt on these nonsensical type of so-called problems. So, hey, Zach, thanks for being here, my friend. Just ran into this on my feed. Okay, so is it okay that you started with them? I apologize, Zach, for starting without you. I know sometimes I kind of have different times that we start. I try to always keep around 7:15, but sometimes I bounce it around on different time frames. But as we discussed, what y'all can do so that you always know when I go live. Number one, for my good friend American Nana, I went ahead and I started posting on the X platform exactly when I'm going to go live that day, as soon as I know when I'm going to go live. And then the second thing you can do is when you subscribe to the channel, for example, on YouTube, you can re-click the subscribe, and there's different choices right there. One of them says, for example, none. Another one will say something like personalized. What happens a lot of times, most of us have the personalized check. What you want to do is you want to re-click on subscribe, scroll down to where it says all, and then click on that. That way you will get the alerts as they go live. Just FYI. But thank you, Zach. Appreciate that. Yeah, Adams is definitely doubling down. The mayor of New York, he is definitely doubling down, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. Again, we've talked about this. I think Donald Trump hit this right on the head, so to speak. He said, "Isn't it amazing?" And I'm paraphrasing, of course, how Mayor Adams all of a sudden has all these legal problems as soon as he decides he's going to be one of the first Democrats to basically speak up and say, enough. This unfettered immigration cannot continue like it's been going on. It just has to stop. We don't have a country when we don't have borders, and he has effectively called it out and said this is nonsense. And you see the repercussion for that. In my opinion, it's just another extension of lawfare. It's people being targeted, people being put in jail and prison because they are not saying or doing the things that the party in power, aka the woke Democrats, are telling them they want done. And as Sapphire said, it's crazy, crazy. Yes, Julianne, Canada started into this Green New scam. Absolutely. They make a ton of money out of all this stuff. There's a lot of people being massaged, we'll just call it that, on this green news scam stuff. And because I am broadcasting on YouTube at the same time, I have to be careful what I say. I am working on solutions to this so I can say what I want to say without worrying about it. But the reality is this green news scam has been a problem for a long time. When I was a kid, and I'm sure some of you probably remember this, when I was in school, I know for a fact, I was told that like 2020, whatever, by the year 2020, we would be under 5 or 6 feet of ice. That's what we were taught. At the time, I was living in Chicago of all places, and, incidentally, we've been talking about Chicago, but I lived there till I was about 10 or 11 before my family and I moved to Houston. And that's what I was taught. We were told that something along the lines of the current climate conditions of today versus what they were the ice age transpired in only 30 years. And they were certain that we were going to be freezing to death right now. And then remember, they changed it, and then they started saying, "No, we're not going to freeze after all. Forget it. We're not freezing. We're burning. We're burning up." What did they call it? They called it global warming, right? And then you had a lot of these candidates that were running for president. I think it was Amy Klobuchar, one of them I remember. She was announcing her candidacy for president. She was going to put an end to the climate nonsense that's going on. And she said, we have to save ourselves from this climate warming. And yet you had snow just dumping on her. Well, they couldn't quite get it right, right? So what did they change it again to? Now, as we know, it's climate change. And I don't really want to get stuck on this, but climate change is kind of interesting because climate, by definition, is the weather conditions over time. In other words, climate, by definition, does change. So I got so many things I can tell you about that. It's always remember this: when you have the speech police on you for something you say, you know something is wrong. And that's exactly what we got going on in our country right now. If you are a weather person on television, you ever notice how they have those little plaques in the corner that says something like American Meteorologist Society, something like that? You cannot even be credentialed. You will lose your accreditation if you say something like I just said. So think about that for a second. They don't even allow you to have an opinion or to think what you want to think. And if you do say it, then there are serious repercussions for saying that. Final point on the subject: there is a channel, I think it's the News by Roman. It's a pretty good sized channel, and they got great reporting on there from time to time. It was probably about a year ago they did a report on exactly what we just talked about. And if you're interested in it, make sure you check that out. I'll see if I can find that video, and we'll talk about it at another time. All right, Zach, I checked earlier. It did not see any upcoming live. Yeah, just check those settings, like I said, and I think that might help. And if you want, you can text me your phone number or just send me a text, at the number on the bottom of the screen. And when I go live, I'll send you a text letting you know when I'm going live. I do that a lot with my friend Mark anyways. So that's another solution, and I'll keep working on other solutions to make sure everybody is informed so we can always get together and have a nice meeting here. Julianne Adams realized the border flow was not stopping. Yeah, he did. And I think another thing too is he realized how much money this was costing the city of New York, the taxpayers of New York. Remember, they were renting out them fancy hotels for these illegals coming across the border, yet they have people in their own community that are homeless or are having hard time making ends meet, and they were literally living in the street or at some kind of rundown shelter of some sort. Yet these illegals that were coming in were being housed at these very swanky and fancy hotels. So interesting. And nothing like spreading the pain like Greg Abbott did there in Texas to kind of make everybody understand just what a problem Texas is having. And think of this too. It's like Abbott said, he only sent a very small fraction of the people that they have come into Texas daily. He sent just a few of those percentage-wise to other places, including New York. States like Texas, New Mexico, and definitely Arizona, they get hammered with all these people coming in. Now, California on the other side, they welcome them, but it still is costing the good taxpayers the good citizens of California a ton of money. There are sun cycles, and we're headed into one that happens every 4 years. I saw some type of a documentary on that exact subject. We can't even think of it this way, Julian. We cannot even predict with a good certainty what the weather is going to be tomorrow or the next day. Definitely not 3 or 4 days out. We just don't know. Yet they want us all to believe that they have this nailed down, that the end of our planet is at hand if we don't change our ways. That's what they want us to believe. They want us to ruin an economy like the United States of America, to destroy the very country that feeds our families, that allows us to thrive and prosper. They want to destroy all of this because they think there might be a 1 or 2 degree change in temperature 50 years, 60 years in the future. That sounds very nonsensical to me. It just sounds outrageous. And I got a couple questions for you. First of all, you realize this poisonous condition that they're talking about is what's called carbon dioxide. It's just I call it plant food. It's CO2 scientifically. When we breathe out carbon dioxide. When plants breathe in, they breathe in carbon dioxide. And when they breathe out, guess what they breathe out? They breathe out oxygen, which of course is what we breathe in. This is the cycle that God set up a long time ago during creation. No matter what they tell us, none of this just happened. It's too perfect. It's too designed. It's too well defined. It's just within very small parameters. When it comes to this climate stuff, first of all, is it we don't know that for sure that the carbon dioxide is actually a problem. We really don't know that. Then they want you to believe that if we are suffering from that, they want you to believe we're the cause of it. If we're the cause of it, talking about the CO2, if we're the cause of it, they want you to believe that we can do something to change it. I mean, there's a lot of assumptions going on here, and you have China putting a coal burning factory. You have two of them every week going online in China. Do you think that's going to make any difference, even if we did cut back the way that they are claiming we need to cut back? Again, it's just a bunch of nonsense. And like Julianne just pointed out, sun cycles, there's a lot of different things that could be causing, quote unquote, the problem. One other thing I'll tell you too, you can Google it. There's a news story out there. I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago. They talk about how hot things are right now. Well, you got to take that with a grain of salt. Back in the 1930s, especially the 1940s, it was extremely hot. They come across those records. Guess what they did with those records? They just hit the delete button. They were just said these records are not reliable. We can't guarantee that these particular records are valid and that these readings were recorded directly. Listen, it was so hot in the 1930s. Remember in history, the Dust Bowl? It was so hot in the 1930s that you actually had the environment making its own weather, aka the Dust Bowl. It got so hot in Oklahoma, Texas, and these areas. That's what they were experiencing. So again, just don't believe everything that they tell us. There seems to always be an agenda. The agenda generally involves money or power or somebody wanting to receive funds to do a study to prove whatever it is the government wants them to prove. I mean, it's just really sick. It's wrong what they have done and what they are doing to our country. And it's all about people making profit, people having control over all of our lives. These Hollywood folks, for example, they want to tell us how to live our lives and how we're bad and we're destroying our world. At the same time, they get on their private jets and head off wherever they want to for vacation. What we should be doing is we have to take care of the environment. I have no problem with that. We have to be stewards of this earth. No doubt about it. But I believe in prosperity, and I believe things get better when we use more electricity, when we're able to make more things to sell to make everybody's life better. it's really just that simple. But we have these woke Democrats that want us to constrict and get smaller and run around like we're scared, and it's just ridiculous, just ridiculous. Yeah, and Zach says even the ozone layer is healing, and that is true. I've heard that. I have heard a report on that. We just don't know what we don't know. We don't know if these are natural cycles. We don't know if it's normal for the ozone to open up, contract. What we just don't know. Yeah, we appreciate you being here, Bonnie. Thank you for being here. Let me see if I get any other questions, and we're going to move on to my next subject here. Yeah, Julianne said, John Casey, the sun dictates climate change. We can never compete with the sun's energy. I think there's a lot of truth in that. And my friend Zach Adams also realized he would no longer have to kiss Democrats' butts. Yeah, I listen, when they file criminal charges on him, that pretty well seals the deal. He's going to be looking for a way out, a way through, whatever. And it just, in my opinion, they're just pushing Adams into the arms of Donald Trump. And that's exactly what's going on. I have no doubt that somehow, some way, Donald Trump's going to issue him a pardon. I think Donald Trump has made comments to that effect already. So we'll see how that works out. And yeah, CO2, more weeds. That's exactly right. It's really amazing to think how God made everything. I mean, what are the chances, right? We breathe out what the plants breathe in. They breathe out what we breathe in. I mean, it's not very complicated to see the design in our lives and the way things are set up. It's very, very complicated, very sensitive, very intricate. Everything is so fine tuned, and we don't know why it's that way, but clearly it's part of God's plan, part of design. Do you know, for example, water has a specific gravity, I think something like 6.5. Don't quote me on that, but water is the only substance that is lighter in its solid form than it is in its liquid form. If you don't believe me, you can make yourself a glass of ice water or iced tea, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. The ice will float to the top. It's the only substance in the world that does that. If that was not the case, none of us would be here, in large part because the oceans would freeze over. They would not have time to thaw during the spring and summer, and our planet would effectively freeze over for the most part. And I mean, I can give tons of examples like that, but the point is, I want you to all think for yourself and make your own choices, your own decisions. When you hear stuff out there in the news and they're preaching it to you like it's the gospel truth, you need to really have your spider sense up, and you need to be thinking about, is this true? Or am I being told something and sold a bill of goods because somebody's trying to acquire power, someone's trying to acquire money? And it's been my experience in life that's exactly what they're trying to do. But yeah, here's to more weeds. Zach, he sure got a good dose of reality. Yes, yeah, I'm sure he did. And Julianne, we are causing fine metals, mostly aluminum, in the upper atmosphere from burning up satellites. They are already raining down, and hundreds of thousands more are planning to go. Yeah, again, I don't have all the answers. I don't know all the scientific facts about a lot of things, but what I do know is what they're trying to tell us is far from proven in my mind. They can say whatever they want to say. I don't think it is proven, and we'll just have to see how that holds up over time. But I think my biggest argument when I talk to people about this subject is, let's just say we do everything they want us to do. How is it going to do any good whatsoever when you have the rest of the world, India, China, Russia, they're doing nothing effectively. They're putting more and more coal-firing plants online every single week. It's when they vent something in the atmosphere, it eventually works its way here. We're all on the same planet. We all breathe the same air. So I think that's my point when it gets right down to it on that. A county in Pennsylvania had a record high temperature, 111. Yeah, there you go, in 1938 or 36. And I don't know if y'all remember. Do y'all remember the Dust Bowls from history? I mean, we were taught that heavily when I was in school, and it's there's a few other examples that have slipped my mind right now, but it's just Everything has been changed over time to suit whatever type of subject or agenda they're trying to put forward. It's just the way it is. Sapphire, the answers to climate change is BS. BS is plant more trees. I think definitely planting more trees is a good idea. I definitely think the scientists never had God in their equations. Yeah, I think you're exactly right about that. Some of these scientists, like Einstein, these were people that believed in God. These were people that believed in creation, this type of stuff. And they would want us to believe, in my opinion, that scientists nowadays, you remember George W. Bush when he would talk about creation or talk about he believed in the creation story in the Bible, this type of stuff. They literally laughed at him. I remember as clear as day. They laughed at him like he was an idiot, like he was not an intellectual type of person. And it's just hilarious to me that these same people that think they're so smart can look at everything in the world. I mean, we don't even understand scientifically everything that we see right now. Just look at the James Webb telescope that keeps sending in tons of information. We don't understand what's going on. We don't understand what we're seeing out there. And my point is these same people just believe that things just happen. In other words, one day you're a rock and you add so many, it's like time. Time is like their pacifier. You got a problem, put your pacifier in, name time, and just suck on that for a while. Everything will work out and you'll be fine. In my experience, time doesn't do nothing. Matter of fact, I think it's the second law of thermodynamics. If you have something together that's organized, that's in order, and you leave it alone, it's going to dissipate. It's going to decay. It's going to become in a worse shape over time. And if you don't believe me, just walk out of your apartment, walk out of your house, whatever, lock the door behind you, of course, and just leave for 10 years and come back and see what your place looks like. It's not going to be better. It's not going to automatically remodel its own bathroom. It just doesn't work that way, folks. And again, just some of the nonsense they always try to indoctrinate us with violates their own rules that they have as far as science, especially when it comes to the thermodynamic rules and stuff like that. So again, I'm not a professional on these subjects. It's just what I've observed and what I've seen over time. Zach says certain trees absorb more CO2, so they should be planted at higher rates. I think that's another excellent idea. Math, the math of scientists never had God in there. Yeah, we agree on that. Let's see here. Make sure I catch any questions. The action comes mostly with the growing plants. Yes, exactly. All righty. And Julianne, Tom McDonald's lyric. I will also give you science to oppose the word of Christ. Yeah, if you believe in Christ, you believe in creation, they make you think that you are an idiot. And of course, I'm telling you, you are not an idiot whatsoever. And I believe people should have a right to question things and come up with their own opinions, come up with their own judgments. I don't see that as being a major thing to get my mind around. I mean, it's what I can see, it's what I've observed, it's what I've experienced. I have yet to see anything in this world produce something that it did not start with. In other words, people have people, cows have cows, dogs have dogs, right? I've never seen a situation to where you would have a bacteria have a dog or have a dog that become a giraffe or anything. And what do they tell you when you ask a question like that? They say, "Oh, you got to give it millions and millions and billions of trillions of years or what?" Sure, sure. That makes a lot of sense. It's like I'm in school and I'm taking a test and teacher says, "I want you to go ahead and fill out the test, circle the bubbles or whatnot." Listen, teacher, I'm going to get an A on this test. Just leave it on your desk. We'll check back in a couple hundred billion trillion years and it'll all be filled out correctly. It's just stupid, just absolutely stupid. Again, that's just my opinion, but I have my reasons for that particular opinion. All right. So moving on, we have discussed where this all got started because of the nonsense Joe Biden is perpetrating at our border by trying to undermine our next president, which of course, is extremely unfortunate. So let's go ahead and start back with today's stories. There's a few main stories I want to hit during this visit with everybody. So let's go ahead and turn over and let's take a peek at it. All right, I got an interesting one too. Did y'all see this with Elon Musk? Apparently, he made a very good choice backing Donald Trump. In my opinion, too, the story we're going to talk about is another type of lawfare. I don't think that anybody could say it's not lawfare. You have people that are not popular with the current ruling class, if you will, and as a result, they go after him the same way they went after President Donald Trump. This particular letter right here is no exception. Now, I have a video to watch pertaining to this, but I want to briefly go over this letter. This is of something from today, and Elon Musk is kind of trolling the guy here. This is from the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, and it says, "This is Elon." He says, "Oh, Gary, how could you do this to me?" So they're basically threatening him with criminal charges. I don't even think you can say they're basically. I mean, they are. They're threatening this man with criminal charges. So this is dated the 12th. So it's dated yesterday. This is the attorney representing Elon Musk. And it goes on. It says, Dear Chair Gessler, he's the guy that's currently the head of the SEC, said yesterday, the commission staff issued a settlement demand that required Mr. Musk agree within 48 hours to either accept a monetary payment or face charges on numerous accounts. So here's the SEC saying, you're going to pay us a ton of money now, right now, or we're going to file numerous charges, numerous counts on you. Boy, that sounds like a great way to conduct fair business, right? They indicated that this demand was the result of a directive from their superiors and that all charges would be brought immediately unless Mr. Musk acquiesced. This demand follows a multi-year investigation and more than 6 years of harassment of Mr. Musk by the commission and its staff. More recently, the staff subpoenaed me. This is the attorney saying he was subpoenaed. As a quick note, you know the reason why they do that, in my opinion, that's kind of one of these legal tricks. When you have an attorney that's really a good attorney and he's a zealous advocate for his client, in this case Elon Musk, a lot of times you'll see this trick by the government. Well, they'll say, well, we're going to go ahead and subpoena the attorney to testify. Their goal there is try to make the attorney a witness. Somehow he's a witness. Well, if that's able to stand, then you have someone like Musk that has to get another attorney. Again, it's just one of these dirty tricks that they try to perpetrate on everybody. And my opinion, that's what they're trying to do when they're insisting that they take this attorney's deposition. So it goes on, Mr. Musk attorney, they subpoenaed me for testimony and threatened to send a process server if I do not immediately cooperate. I categorically refused. This week, the commission has also reopened an investigation into Neuralink. Now, Neuralink is a newer company started by Elon Musk, and I believe their main function is computer chips. So again, you have the federal government bringing down the full resources and weight of the federal government to, in my opinion, go after another adversary of the current administration. It says this series of events makes clear that the commission is not motivated to seek the truth, but instead is engaged in an improperly motivated campaign against Mr. Musk and the individuals and companies associated with him. It cites the law right there. It says, we demand to know who directed these actions, whether it was you or the White House. Wow. These tactics are a misguided scheme and will not intimidate us. We reserve all rights. And then it's signed by the attorney. That's a pretty stiff response letter to the SEC, to the federal government. So isn't that interesting how they do that? It's just more government lawfare. I have a video, I believe. Let me check. Yeah, here is the video pertaining to Elon Musk. It says that actually I got two different sources on this, and I think this one here is the better. Let's switch over and take a peek at this because this is going to give a little a little context as to what's going on. Because basically, what you have is you have Elon Musk telling the feds to go stick it. That's essentially what this is. He knows that he has President Donald Trump elect's ear, and the reality is that this is going to go nowhere because President Donald Trump is coming to power, and his new BFF, of course, is Elon Musk. So he chose wisely, is the way that I would look at this. Let me see if I can make this large enough and we'll watch this together. So let's listen together. It's a short video and it'll give us some more context.
Elon Musk still can't have his $56 billion pay package. That was the ruling from a Delaware judge on Monday. The case involves the largest ever compensation package at a US public company. It also comes after Musk has become a close advisor of President-elect Donald Trump and has been tasked to help slash US government bureaucracy. The same judge, Chancellor Kathleen McCormick, in January deemed the $56 billion pay package from Tesla excessive and rescinded it. Then in June, Tesla shareholders.
Yeah, you got a lot of just government, whatever, focused on hammering Musk. His pay package, I know the volume there was a little bit low, but his pay package was hammered, was rejected by, what was it, out of the state of Delaware. I think they're going to move that corporation as a result of that. But the headline here is Tesla CEO Elon Musk has revealed that the Security and Exchange Commission has issued him a settlement demand. The regulatory agency is investigating whether Musk committed securities fraud during his 2022 buyout of X, formerly Twitter. So that is interesting. I love following stories just like that. So let's see if, yeah, this other source here is pretty well saying the same thing on there. But I just wanted to just point that out. I think these type of, well, I mean, it's right up my alley. I love legal type issues, and this here is interesting because I'm not sure what they're thinking that was going to happen with that because Donald Trump's coming into office. I think they maybe were hoping that Elon Musk would cough up a quick check so they could talk about that before Biden's out of office. I guess it's what you call one of them legacy type nonsense issues. But I don't know. What do you think? What do you think would be the reason why Biden would go after something like that so hard? So let me turn to questions here, and we'll move on. Because we have to talk about some of the J6 stuff that's going on too. This is interesting. All right. Let's see. I know that we had a couple little questions here. Yeah, Julian, you're right. Some of these apologetic stuff answers so many questions. What's going on? Yeah, I think them are great resources. I listen to, there's a guy, by the way, his reputation's kind of, well, it's interesting. I think he's a great guy. His name is Ken Hovind. I believe their channel is Genesis Baptist Church. He has like a place called Dinosaur Adventureland off in Alabama. And this guy is a character, but he is a man of God. And I think he's a great guy personally. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I visited their place there. But he's all about creationism and the evidence for creationism. And another guy that I like to follow is a guy named Hugh Ross. Now, him and the other guy, Dinosaur Adventureland, they have two different views on how to look at creation. But I like listening to them both because I just like having all that information. I don't make any firm judgments. I like to hear all the information and make my own decisions. But Hugh Ross, and I think his channel is called what is it called? Something like Answers in Genesis. If you type in Hugh Ross, you'll find it out. He has published numerous books. So has Ken Hovind, for that matter. But I think the best way to say the difference between the two of them is that Ken Hovind is what they would call a young Earth creationist, and Hugh Ross, if I'm quoting it correctly, I could say that he would be best described as he believes that we've been here a long time as far as the creation goes, but he also believes in God's clear design and creation. It's just an interesting thing if you're interested in that type of subjects, which I am. Feel free to check that out for yourself. Zach says some believe that God designed the universe using mathematics. Yes, I was watching a video on that not long ago. It's actually I was watching one today about that. They were talking about something to do with chaos theory, and some of these things they come up with, folks, I think are just weird. but I like to listen to them because it's interesting. And yes, there is clearly a lot of mathematics in the design of everything. I think that's very clear. And that sounds logical to me. God is a logical entity. He's a logical God. And why not, right? All right, FCC, Julian, is the FCC an appointed position? My understanding is that that is appointed by the president. Matter of fact, the FCC, we talked about him. You're probably talking about the SEC, Security Exchange Commission. That is also appointed by the president, and I believe that the person there is going to resign. Let me take a quick peek here, and we'll see. Is the FCC? I know is appointed. You can tell me if you're looking for something else, but the FCC is the FCC appointed. And I'm pretty certain it says the FCC is directed by 5 commissioners appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate for 5-year terms, except when filling an unexpired term. The president designates one commissioner to serve as chairman. So, yes, but indirectly on the FCC. And then on the SEC, the commissioner says the commissioner has 5 commissioners who are appointed by the president of the United States. So it looks like they're ran in a similar manner. Who has power over the SEC? Again, it's a bipartisan 5-member commission composed of the chair and 4 commissioners appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. So it's one of these positions, the way I look at it, it is controlled, I guess, by the president as far as the appointments are concerned. Congress gives the advice and consent, as we're familiar with. So, yeah, it's kind of like an indirect control is probably the best way to say it. Sapphire is answering for you, yes. And let's see. See, POTUS appoints 5 stars. Oh, you already got it in there. I need to start reading faster on these comments. Thank you, Zach. I should have known you guys already have the answers in there. FCC is a 7-seat board. The president in power nominee. So there you go. Okay, you guys are hitting it really good here. All right. Yeah, Biden is definitely showing a vindictive side. I think that's very obvious. The other 2 are nominated by the party opposite of the president. There we go. This is what you call groupthink. There's actually studies on this that when you work on a problem together, you generally come up with the right answer. All right. Thank you for that information. I'll check into that myself, Julianne. Thank you. The FCC could change how slander is held with a show like the yes, that is true. That's something I've been excited about. That's the reason why you see a lot of these shows. Like I watch The View. Unfortunately, I sometimes it's very painful to watch The View, but think of it this way. I watch The View so you don't have to necessarily watch The View, but they are definitely worried about the FCC because even though these companies are independent companies, they use public airways, and that's there where you come up with the FCC, and they have long established rules on these boards that basically say that if you have something for one candidate, you have to have fair time for the other. And remember, with Kamala Harris, they invited her to Saturday Night Live, yet Donald Trump was not invited, did not get the same invitation. Now, they did apparently allow him to have game time or something like that during NASCAR or one of the other events, but the bottom line is they have, in my opinion, been violating a lot of rules for a lot of times. I think that's the reason why you see ABC looking to sell off some of their news divisions. Same thing with MSNBC. They're being packaged and sold off from NBC Universal. There's just a lot of change going on right now. And I think a lot of it has to do with they know the day of reckoning is coming now and coming quick. And you're right, Sapphires. You got Carrie Lake. She's going to be headed to Voice of America. There's going to be some, as Donald Trump would say, some huge changes going on in our country. And I for one, am extremely excited about the change that is so clearly coming. Zach says not necessarily the right answer, but the agreed upon answer. One person could not conceive the NASA group think that it was, yeah, that's true. I can't say it's always correct, but it's supposed to be good. Like anything else, Well, what would be my answer to everything? Take all the information in and make up your own mind on it, right? Trump makes one phone call about election results on dead voter. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing all the things. I need to start a running list of all the changes and just policy reversals. I mean, they are everywhere now, and Donald Trump has not even been sworn in. One of the things that I've noticed has been rampant right now is you have a huge collection of colleges and what was it, advisory boards or sports leagues. They're getting rid of this transgender type of nonsense. A lot of these places are getting rid of their DEI policies. That they're all saying, "Hey, we know we're about to get a whooping, and we don't want any piece of it. We just want to buy peace, and we want to focus on taking care of our business." For example, Walt Disney is probably the best example of this. They decided 4 or 5 years ago we're going to pick a fight with the state of Florida and Ron DeSantis. Not a good decision to fight with your home state. The result of that is they lost their ability to self govern. They actually carved themselves out an ability with an agreement of the legislative branch to where they basically were kind of autonomous by themselves. They could run whatever they wanted to. Right over here, Walt Disney, similar to the way the villages are ran. Y'all probably have seen the villages or heard of them on TV. It's effectively just huge communities of old people, and they pretty well self govern their selves. Well, Ron DeSantis had Disney stripped of their ability to manage themselves, and now they got the state up there, you know what, with a magnifying glass all the time as a result of it. And now with this election, again, just reading the tea leaves, you have Disney basically saying we don't want a piece of this anymore. We want to go back to focusing on making things for families, making movies for kids. We want to stay out of these politics, which is what they should have done, and they lost their way. I guess is probably the best way to say it. Yes, and women's golf, that's true, Julianne. The they have changed their rules. I think there was a transgender person that was competing. They come out screaming and very upset about that. Orlando, who even knew they had their own Disney. Yeah, they do. They have. Well, I should say they had. It's a first of all, if you haven't been to Disney World, it's a huge area of land, just a huge complex. And Florida has always had this unique provision in law where you can have what's called a land trust. And the good thing about a land trust, you can buy and sell properties and you don't really have to disclose who's behind the trust, if you will. And what that allowed Walt Disney to do years ago is he was able to buy all these properties and put them together because if word got out that they were trying to make a Disney World, then individuals would be holding out on their property for more and more money. Well, them laws are still around. And then they loved Walt Disney so much that the legislative branch decided to come up with this unique situation where certain entities could effectively be their own governor, if you will, of their own land. I mean, ultimately, it's controlled by the state, but for example, they would have their own fire department. They would have their own police department. They could, that when it comes to permits, this is a big one. They have their own permit officials do their own inspections. Does that make sense? You do like where I live, I have to call the county to come out and bless whatever work I have done after getting permission from them to build. Well, the way it was before is Disney was their own government. They permitted themselves, they built whatever they wanted to build. And of course, that's not the way it is now because they started mixing it up with Governor DeSantis, which was stupid. Absolutely stupid. Probably one of the worst business decisions I've ever seen a company make in my entire lifetime. They had a great thing, a very sweet deal from the government. And it started with that. You remember that don't say gay nonsense? They named some bill that the governor was really advocating for. They called it, it wasn't a compliment, it was a nasty swipe, the don't say gay law, and they just started letting their employees get into their ear, so to speak, and they just lost their way. They lost their mission, and now they are going to pay huge consequences as a result of that. Staffer says, yeah, Florida had allowed Disney to be its own government. Yep, now Disney woke up to paying taxes. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, that's funny, Zach. DEIs and yeah, they don't. They're not too happy about that choice. I know that they wish they would have made a better choice. So, all right, moving on. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this. What do you think about this? Isn't this cute with the Let me turn that music off right there. I thought this was kind of cool. Someone put this on there. Donald Trump receiving Man of the Year. I thought this was kind of a cute little parody. And if you notice, you got y'all remember that one woke person screaming because of Trump or whatever they were screaming about. It was just a very famous parody from this past year that I thought was pretty cool. I am going to be all over this J6 stuff going forward. We are going to talk at length about January 6th because, my friends, Pardon Day is here and it's coming very soon. And I could not be more excited. Have y'all seen this story? Do you remember the Duke lacrosse players from like 18, 20 years ago where they were accused of committing a crime against this particular woman? These people were put on trial. Thank God they were acquitted. I think this was 2007, if my memory serves me. They were finally acquitted in 2007. Well, this woman at age 48 came forward today and said that she made the whole thing up. Ain't that something? That just shows you next time you see one of these cases take off like a wildfire on the news, you have to take a step back and see if these cases are real or if they're not real. And it's very unfortunate because when you have someone saying that they were subjected to some type of crime, you want to believe them. And it's people like this woman right here that really throw a lot of shade on people that are legitimate victims. So I thought to myself, that's just nuts. One other thing going on is this is great as far as I'm concerned with Donald Trump. He allowed Matt Gaetz, and I believe there may have been a plan there to help Matt Gaetz get out of having that report released on him. In other words, if he was elected or if he was able to get confirmed as the head of the DOJ, fine. But I believe that Donald Trump was trying to help him out initially by giving him an out to quickly resign from Congress because he didn't have to resign. He could have kept his seat as a member of Congress up until he was actually confirmed. But no, he did not. He resigned immediately. And I believe it was the day before, if not 2 days before, when that report was supposed to be released. Now, I'm not going to say that's the only reason, but I do have my suspicions about that. And on one hand, I like Matt Gaetz. On the other hand, he's done things that I'm not real happy with. We've talked about it on this program. And of course, I'm talking about what was that speaker? Kevin McCarthy. I was not happy with that nonsense that went down, but it is what it is. I like Speaker Mike Johnson, so I guess it's water under the bridge at this time. But this is the point I want to lead up to with this particular video clip. I do not like the senator from Maine or this particular senator from Alaska. This is Lisa Murkowski. There are also rumors that she's looking to maybe switch parties to the Democratic Party. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I'm glad to see President Donald Trump elect providing leadership because I was worried he was going to start going down the wrong road by every time one of his picks had a problem or had a accusation of some sort that he was effectively going to just say, okay, we're going to change him out with somebody else. He cannot do that. When you are a leader, you have to lead. You want people with you as a leader that are going to be there with you even during the tough times, and he has to reciprocate that back to the people that are supporting him. Does that make any sense? We talked at length about Pete Hegseth and this alleged incident that happened. We went through it in detail, and there's no there. The story doesn't make sense. It doesn't flow. This is if you believe the report, you'd have to believe a woman that said she could not stand Pete Hegseth decided to go to dinner with him and then somewhere else with him to spend time with him. And yet she also hated him. And then you'd have to believe she left his room and went directly to her husband's room. It just defies logic, at least as far as I'm concerned. And I will tell you one thing too. There's no such thing as a person nowadays that doesn't have something in their closet that can't have a light shined on it to make that person look like a bad person. Again, that's just my opinion. I think that we need to give everybody a fair hearing and allow them to explain themselves with any questions that there might be. But clearly, unfortunately, this is nothing but a political process. And we know it's a political process because the Democrats, voting as a single unit, are not going to allow any of its picks to go through. They just vote no. So we have to rely on the 53, 54 senators, I think there's 53 that we have that are Republicans, and we have to pressure the Republicans to stick together. And finally, that's what President Donald Trump is doing. And that's what Mikowski is complaining about in this video right here. It's the exact playbook that I was hoping President Trump was going to use. And that is the following: if you do not play ball and you do not carry out the will of the people that sent us here to do our jobs, this is Donald Trump speaking, of course. You won effectively a landslide, at least in the Electoral College. We presume there's a mandate for change. People want change. People want this country to go a different direction. We must put a stop to this lawfare. We have to make our military strong again, get our respect back in the world, put a stop to these wars that are flaring up anywhere and everywhere. And I need you as senators to do your job and approve the candidates that I'm putting forward. Finally, it looks like that's what Donald Trump is doing. He's telling them that if you do not play ball and you're not going to be supportive of the ticket, then what's going to happen is my friend Elon Musk, he's got a bunch of money. I have other friends with a bunch of money. We're gonna let's call it Liz Cheney you. We're gonna Liz Cheney you. We're going to take money, find another candidate, and we're going to put you in a primary. Just exactly what happened to sweet Liz Cheney, the original rhino. She had a primary challenger brought up against her, and she was ousted. And she was at the time the third most powerful Republican in the Congress. So that speaks volumes. And you can see that Lisa right here. Well, let's listen to her in her own words. She's not too happy about what's going on. Let's listen.
But I think it's going to be hard, quite honestly. I think it's going to be hard in these next 4 years. Because you have an administration coming in that has had an opportunity to kind of see how things work, what didn't work, and now we've had 4 years to think about it. And the approach is going to be everybody toe the line, everybody line up. We got you here, and if you want to survive, you better be good. Don't get on Santa's naughty list here, because we will primary you. And my friend Joni Ernst, who is probably one of the more conservative, principled Republican leaders in the Senate right now, is being hung out to dry for not being good enough.
Oh,
and you're going to get
terrible.
primaried. Well,
Right.
What's this all about? Why are we doing this to ourselves? So I think we're getting a little bit of.
Well, we're doing it. We're doing it, Lisa, because you need to do your job. You need to be there to support our president, support our country, to support your constituents. They sent you there for a reason, not to grandstand and act like you are the gatekeeper of everything that's holy and righteousness. So thank goodness for that. And clearly the message is out. So when I saw that clip, I was like, that's fantastic. And I love what Julianne has said here. I think this is a great summation. People want to see justice, no turning the other cheek. Well said. Exactly said correctly. Cheney lost by 45 points when she was primaried. It was a bruising defeat. It was a bad defeat. And she obviously has an axe to grind. She's not a happy camper. When you have somebody like Liz Cheney, that she was so mad, so PO'd over this whole situation, she went and campaigned for Kamala Harris, openly endorsed Kamala Harris. Wow, that says a lot, don't it? You have somebody that had the credentials and the beliefs that she had before, very sound conservative beliefs, and then she openly endorses somebody like Kamala Harris. What the heck is that about? Unbelievable. So here is the clip about buying the what is it, the steel from these panels pertaining to the border wall. one of y'all made that comment, and y'all were spot on about it. So
The
let's
White House
hear what
right
they
now.
plan on doing right here. So
we
let's
mean
listen for a second.
business in Texas, and Tom Homan means business, and President Trump means business. And I
Yeah, and this guy, by the way, this is Dan Patrick, He is the current Texas Lieutenant Governor. This is what they're planning on doing. I think it was Julianne or someone. I apologize if I got the wrong person. One of y'all said that's what we need to do, and that's exactly what they're
don't know
doing.
if you heard the latest today, Laura, but Joe Biden is now hauling off the border wall that's been lying down for years, and he wants to auction it off starting at $5 a piece. Message to the White House right now. I will bid on all of that wall, and we will buy it in Texas, and we will.
You see that? He's going to buy it $5. He's going to start opening the bids. This stuff is stacked, and they're letting it go at $5 a pop. This huge, large amount of steel. And this is the website we looked at a second ago at govplanet.com. Look at that. Isn't that sickening? Absolutely sickening. And I would call it treason.
Give it to Donald Trump. So I'm going to find out first thing in the morning where are we going to take the bid. I've got $1 billion in my pocket to do it. I write the budget with Senator Joan Huffman. We have the money. We're going to have about $6 billion in our budget for border security.
Dan, don't drive up the cost. Don't drive up the cost. The first bid is only $5 a piece of the wall.
And I will go in and buy it all.
Yeah,
I'm not going to drive.
What does that tell you? Yeah, well, what does this tell you about the Biden people?
It tells you
they're essentially green lighting. They want more people coming in. Yeah,
they're despicable in what they're.
That's just aggravating. It aggravates every fiber in my body. That is just beyond the pale for them to do something like that. That is. Let me check your comments real quick here. Yeah, Sapphire, that's BS. Ernest, I have my concerns about her. I don't know if I would say she's actually anti-Trump right now. I will say there's clearly a question to be raised when she is in line, or at least her name has been brought up to actually be the person that leads the head of the Department of Justice. So I'm sorry, actually the Pentagon, the same position for Pete Hegseth, I think it's the Pentagon, right? Yeah, to be the head of the Pentagon, the Department of Defense, probably the best way to say it. And she has been one of the names brought up that if Pete doesn't work out, that they could nominate her, give her the nomination. And yes, that would be problematic potentially. Julianne, surprised they didn't buy Cheney's win. Yeah, they didn't buy Cheney. I'm not sure how they would do that, but let's see, Zach, maybe healthcare CO will buy it. We'll see how this all plays out. I'm sure you're going to have some Dems get on there, some of these woke people, and try to run up the price. But you heard the lieutenant governor just say they have $1 billion set aside to make sure they buy that wall right back, because they want that wall built as soon as Donald Trump's in office. And I think that is a fantastic plan. Set that money aside. That way it's not delayed trying to get those materials repurchased again. And as I said earlier, I believe it was $300 million that those materials were originally bought for. That's a lot of steel to come up with and to produce. And if they have to start from scratch, it's going to take a long time. Julianne, they sure wanted to break the spirit of them. Yes, they do. That's exactly what they want to do. The border wall. That's it. It's I like him too, Sapper. It's sad, ladies and gentlemen, what they've done here. It's treason. I don't really know any way to say it. Here's our buddy. I love this guy. Here's old Mayor Adams speaking today. He says, New York Mayor Adams stuns a room full of liberal reporters with a blunt reality check about open borders and their link to trafficking. And of course, they're talking about these 500,000 missing children. So let's take a quick peek at this and we'll talk about it.
500,000 children who had sponsors in this country that we can't find. We can't find them. We don't know if they're doing child labor. We don't know if they're doing sex crimes. We don't know if they're being exploited. 500,000 children. There's a level of hypocrisy that everyone that states they want to protect everyone, but innocent individuals who are victims of crimes and children. I want to support and protect children and innocent people that are victims of crime. And those who don't understand that, it's not up to me to try to convince them. I know what my job is, my goal is, and I was clear of that while running and when I became mayor. Safety means everything.
Well, I gotten really where I really like Mayor Adams. I don't know if you guys share that opinion or not, but I have definitely got to where I like him a whole lot better. And I'm really happy with the selection that Donald Trump has made on these picks. I'm happy with Tulsi Gabbard, the Pete Hegseth, of course. I think even RFK Jr. I'm a little bit concerned about it if I'm being straight up with you about it, but I think why not? Give them a chance. Obviously, I don't want to be taking away vaccines and stuff like this, but I don't think that that is really going to happen. I think if he wants to work on food and try to make things healthier for all of us, hey, why not? Let's try it and see exactly where that transpires and how that all works out. So now I wanted to tell you too. Let me check comments one quick second here. I wanted to tell you too later today, Lord willing, either later today or tomorrow. Just make sure you set your alerts so you know. I want to really drill down into this nonsense that's going on with this J6 situation. This is going to get interesting. This is another thing, one of the many things I am so grateful about. What a fantastic result from this last election. All of this information we've been pondering about, wondering about, speculating about, we're going to know. President Trump is going to release all of this information pertaining to J6. The government has come out today and admitted, how do they word it? Bombshell report. It says the FBI had 26 confidential human sources. My understanding of confidential human sources is effectively people that got caught up in something. They were in trouble for something, and the government basically told them either do our bidding or you get to do 20 years in a cage. It's really just what it boils down to. So that was the people that they had out there. At least that's what they're alleging at this point. And remember, they have told us for a long time now that no, the FBI, the government, we had nothing to do with that so-called insurrection. We didn't agitate anything. We didn't cause anything. We did not push anything. We all know that's a bunch of muck. And again, it's like a dam about to burst, right? You have all these leaks. Now you have, President Trump's about to come back to office. You have the FBI trying to cover their backside with this report, knowing that was that Kirsch Patel is going to be coming in. They know what's about to happen. This whole thing is about to explode. This whole lake is about to just wash everything away, and they know it. They know it, and I'm good. I think that the truth needs to come out so we all understand exactly what happened. We all know that this J6 stuff. I was not happy with things the way things went down. I wish President Trump would have handled it differently. I do. I really do. At the same time, not a doubt in my mind that there's agitators out there, people trying to overblow this, exaggerate this. And of course, I get people all the time say, oh, then why were there people that pled guilty? Blah, blah, blah. And of course, these are people obviously that don't watch this channel because we've talked about it many times. There are a lot of people that plead guilty, but that does not mean they did anything wrong. You plead guilty because you want to try to control the outcome of your case instead of having to do 10, 15, 20 years in jail. You'd much rather do a year or two and get out. And make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, you have our current Department of Justice actively going after targeting and arresting so-called J6ers even today. There was 4 trials that started last week alone. And there are people serving 10, 15 plus. I think one of the longest is like 18, 20 years or something like that. Again, you don't ever want to see police officers assaulted. I don't subscribe to any of that. What I'm telling you is the people that just walked through the grounds that Nancy Pelosi refused to secure. They just followed other people in, just walking through, looking at the Capitol building. That is utterly ridiculous, and that should have never allowed to have happened. And I'm just glad that January 20th is around the corner. Freedom Day for our patriots, our friends, our families are at hand. So let me double check the comments here. Okay, I like Patrick too. Yes, some of these cities are definitely going to go bankrupt with what's going on. Safety, definitely, Zach, safety was not a priority. All right. Yeah, you're right about JFK, by the way. He's got all kinds of good ideas. At least give the guy a chance. Why not? Go in there and shake it up. Like you, I've been so PO'd at the government the last 4 years. I just like to see everything shook up. I really don't care. Go ahead and put who needs to be put in those positions to get the job done. And Julian says, now we know why Ray went to the podium, of course. And of course, he's resigned. I've been working on a statement to share with you guys to express exactly how I feel about Ray. And I'll give you a Cliff Notes version. This guy's a dork, an idiot, an unprofessional moron, and I'm glad he's gone. And yes, I can smell the Dems documents being burnt. Yes, there's shredding parties going on, Julianne. They've been going on for some time. I'm sure them shredders are working overtime. There's no doubt about that. Sapphire, yes, my adopted daughter is allergic to red eyes and has to read labels, and you'd be shocked the amount of yes, yeah, there's a lot of problems with the food. I have no doubt about that. If you look around just at society in general, you look at our kids especially. I'm glad we live in a country with so many foods and so many choices, but I also believe that people, on one hand, we should make our own minds up and our own choices up. On the other side, we didn't know what's in our food. It needs to be disclosed. And if it's bad, take it out of there. Why not? Like some of these red dyes and stuff like this. I don't want to affect free choice for adults, but when it comes to kids, kids are a separate category. We'll just see how that plays out. Make sure y'all tune in if I'm able to go live later or tomorrow at the latest. I got a story from right here in Florida. I'm all over anything to do with free speech. And we've talked about many times how, Zach, by the way, that's funny. I just read that. Look for the Democrats with paper cuts. That is funny. I like that. Too much added cereal brand. Yes. Yeah, I agree with all that. You guys are right on that. I got this story, and just to give you a little preview, there's a woman that is looking at 15 years. She's still behind bars right now because she got an argument with her insurance company, and the allegations are she said something to them to the effect of, well, I know why you guys are the next for deny, defend, whatever the D's were, delay, defend, depose, whatever the three words was she used. Well, they arrested her. I think it was the Lakeland police or Sarasota police went out and arrested her, and the judge gave her $100,000 bond or bail rather, and she can't meet that. She's still in jail right now, and she faces 15 years. We're going to talk about that because I got some thoughts to share with you guys pertaining to that right there. So if you don't have any other questions, we're going to start landing the plane right here because I want the power hour not to become the power hour plus, as Zach suggested. I definitely appreciate y'all joining me today. And until we meet again, I hope the Holy Spirit is with each and every one of you and that you all walk in the anointing of our Lord. Appreciate everybody being with me. It truly humbles me, and I appreciate y'all taking time to visit with me as always. I like to say, keep that mind free, never give up. Till next time, my friends, I am J.R. Dukes.